watching. You are watching.
You're watching. You guys are watching.
You're watching Soulful Discussion.
So hi, how are you doing this morning?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. How did our paths cross today? How did we just meet right now?
You actually just came up to me at the park with my dog Mia.
Absolutely, Mia. And I approached you. What did I approach you about?
Reflexology, I believe,
Uh-huh.
and foot, just foot questions.
Yeah, so
And mental health,
and reflexology,
Yeah,
absolutely. And it's for my YouTube channel, right?
Yes.
All right. And so, in terms of mental health, are there any topics you kind of research, you follow closely?
Not particularly closely, I would say. Just kind of like stress management, sort of thing.
Got it. So, like depression, anxiety, things like that?
Yeah, that sort of stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's actually what we're going to talk about today.
Okay, cool.
There's actually a topic that I ended up discovering, like I said, while watching this one guy's channel.
Yeah.
I'd like to get your thoughts about how you feel about
Sure.
that subject and everything.
Sure.
What about reflexology? You familiar?
Not very. No.
Okay.
A little bit.
Okay.
Maybe passing, but I haven't done it.
Absolutely. Yeah, so we'll go into depth. I'll kind of give you some information. We'll see if you're familiar with that and how much you know once we get to that subject, okay?
Yeah.
So let's start with the questions. In terms of something that you like that other people might find to be weird, is there anything that you have, like a hobby maybe, a way you eat your food, that you like that other people may view as weird?
Hobby not particularly.
Okay.
Not that I can think of.
Nothing you can think of?
Yeah, nothing crazy. I don't do ketchup on my pizza.
Yeah.
Like,
So nothing like
things
that.
I feel like
Okay.
people-
Okay.
Nothing
Maybe you'll think
particularly
about
with
something
food.
as we're going along. Okay.
Yeah, sometimes like fries with ice cream maybe would be the
Oh,
worst
okay.
one.
So yeah, like usually like when people go to Wendy's, they get the Frosty and they kind of. Okay.
I do that one.
All right.
But, yeah,
I haven't tried that one yet. I'll have to try that at some point.
Yeah, hobbies. Oh, well, I do have like this weird. I do like magazine clipping art.
Oh, so like
As a hobby.
scrapbooking a
Yeah,
little
kinda,
bit?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I like clip out really small pieces.
Ah, okay.
It's a little. It's a
That's
little,
interesting. Yeah, I haven't heard that
you
one
have to
before.
see it. It sounds a little serial killer.
Clipping out letters. Yeah.
It's usually portraits.
Okay.
So usually it makes up a portrait.
That's
of
dope.
somebody
That's dope.
famous, but
Okay.
It's not as
Absolutely. But it's all good though, because it's something that you do, you like it.
Yeah,
So that's all that
it's
matters.
therapeutic.
Absolutely. Has anyone ever made you feel insecure about your body or a body part before?
Oh yeah. I mean.
Okay. Is it something you still deal with, or do you kind of have a control over it now?
It's like on and off. You know,
Okay.
I think that's just
So it's a daily process.
social media. It's hard.
Got it.
Instagram exists.
Exactly. And I always, when I'm talking to people, I always tell them, like, if you were to compare our time now to like the 80s and 90s, didn't really have that, right?
Right.
Which is why I feel like you kind of deal with more of that with people now with like depression, anxiety.
Yeah.
You turn on your Instagram or whatever, and then you see like all these different things, and people
Yeah.
have stuff to say, and
Yeah.
it's crazy.
Yes,
It's crazy.
that's a lot. It's like you're constantly inundated.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So how do you manage it in terms of on a daily basis?
Usually I just either try to stay off of it for a little bit, or I kind of unfollow or follow people that
Got
don't
it.
necessarily make me feel
That makes
that
sense.
way,
So
you know,
picking
try
picking
to-
the people who you follow carefully.
Yeah, exactly.
Got it.
Yeah.
And that's what I kind of try to do too. I try to, make sure that the people who I am connecting with, their close friends or family, things like that,
Yeah.
try to keep myself away from people who are too crazy.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I just realized over time it's not really serving me.
Yeah. What purpose is it serving, right?
Yeah. It just makes me feel bad about myself.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm like, okay, I don't need to do that.
Unplug for a minute.
Yeah, I don't need to follow this.
If there was one thing you could change about yourself, doesn't have to be physical,
Yeah.
but if you could change one thing, what would it be?
That's a good question. Probably my follow through. I feel like I always have really good ideas, but I never really follow through on them. Or like a hobby, like if I would start something,
You'll start it, but then you'll stop it.
Mhm.
Got it. So maybe it's just like keeping it going, like you said.
Yes,
Okay.
I have a hard time with like self motivating in
Got
that
it,
way
got
to
it.
keep things going, or like if I do it for a long time and then I get thrown off a routine,
Yeah.
it takes me a long time to ever get back to it.
Got it.
Yeah.
So let's get into these questions now. How do you feel about your feet? What are your thoughts?
Well, they're large for my size.
What size do you wear?
I wear like a 9.5.
9.5, but
Yeah.
I would say now you're not standing up, so I can't really tell. But I would imagine you're about 5'7", 5'8".
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. So about five. That's kind of like in line, right? Not
Yes,
too big.
they're pretty
Would you want them to
bold,
be
so-
smaller? Would you rather them
probably
be?
smaller? It's hard to find like cuter.
Yeah,
fits
that's true.
As
That's
a
true.
woman at like 9.
I can imagine.
above.
I wear a size 13 as a guy, so for me,
Yeah.
I go in and it's like they'll have everything from like 10.5 and then you get to like 12 and 13. There's nothing there.
It's
Crazy. Yeah. So, have you ever received any compliments? Has anybody ever complimented you on your feet before? Said,
No.
yeah. No.
Maybe strangers on the internet.
Oh, stranger on the internet. Okay. In terms of if you did receive a compliment about that, how would it make you feel?
I'm like intrigued, I guess.
Okay.
I'm like, okay.
Okay. So it would be something. Is it because it's not common? Like it's one of those things.
Yeah, probably because it's not common.
Got it. Now, in terms of compliments you receive from men and women, right? Not just about your feet, but in general.
Yeah.
Is there a difference on how you feel about those comments, or do you kind of feel the same?
I guess it depends on the delivery.
Got it. So all about the energy behind it and things like that.
Yes, I do appreciate a compliment from a woman sometimes a little more, because then you know you really work for it. You know you really earned it.
It's a running theme on my channel, so I say it all the time. I interviewed a young lady before, and she mentioned to me that a lot of times women are like kind of taught to be in competition, not directly but indirectly, right through society. And so, when you tend to meet other women and they compliment you and like they're kind of like, encouraging you and things like that, it comes across better as opposed to the compliments sometimes you receive from men because they're just doing it to kind of get something in return.
Right.
Would you agree with that? Is that, And see, that's what I keep hearing. So I want to keep getting that message out there so guys can get used to like, hey, let's give regular compliments and just mean them, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. It's the delivery, I think, is the important
It's
thing.
the big part because what I hear from a lot of women, like sometimes they're like, I get a compliment about, like a guy would compliment me about my feet, but then there's stuff behind it, like, oh, I want to suck your toes. And it's like, let's leave that part out. Just say that and keep it pushing, right?
Exactly. Then you're like, oh, okay, this is a different conversation.
Exactly. Yeah. So in terms of, I don't know what your dating situation is now. Are you dating anybody?
Yeah,
okay.
Relationship.
Let's say that you weren't. If you started dating again and you met somebody who was into feet, what would your thoughts be?
Yeah. I mean, it's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
Weird. I would be like, okay, if you want to.
Would it be like an adjustment period for you? Like you need to get used to it?
Depending on what it was.
And I'll put context behind it. So let's say, he likes you for you.
Yeah.
Totally is, head over heels for you, but at the same time, like he likes feet is his thing. He would just like want to, give you foot massages, rub on your feet, kiss on your feet, things like that. You'd be fine with that? Okay. So that's what I'm trying to say. Yeah. Good. In terms of when you first start dating someone, when do you think is the appropriate time to kind of talk about those things, right? That you're into, the things that you have planned for the future things. When should you talk about those things?
I think it kind of just depends on the situation. I mean, I guess it depends on like how quickly you're like. I would say probably like when you're in that situation.
Got it.
Probably maybe a good time to talk about it, or maybe like I don't know, third date. I guess.
Got it. Every situation is kind of different, right? It's about like the energy you feel from the person. Yeah.
And stuff like that.
Exactly.
That's a fair time to like ask somebody like, oh, okay, well, you are in that situation.
Yeah.
What do you like, sort of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. So how often do you get pedicures?
Not that often. I actually just got my first one in a long time.
Oh, okay. First time.
Probably like, I don't know, maybe once every few months.
Okay.
Yeah.
Every couple months. Okay.
Yeah,
all right. So have you ever heard of a medical pedicure before?
No.
All right. So medical pedicure is basically when you go see a podiatrist, specialist of the foot, right?
Yeah.
They take a look at your feet. They take a look at your like toenails and make sure that they grow correctly.
Yeah.
So a lot of women don't know is like sometimes when they go to nail salons, sometimes they cut them incorrectly, which is why some women end up with like ingrown toenails, things like that. And sometimes it's not the cleanliest too, right?
Yeah.
You go to a medical pedicure, right? Cleanest that you can ever get. It's like medical grade equipment. Like they go through all that. He takes a look at your nails, make sure they grow correctly, your toe alignment, check for dead skin, all that stuff, fungus, and they do all the work there.
Oh, okay.
What would your thoughts be on like maybe going to somebody like that? Because maybe you're really not into the cosmetic style.
Right.
But what would be your thoughts on like kind of maintaining your feet?
I mean, I think that's probably something that gets overlooked.
It really does.
For sure. Yeah, I would consider like it's not. I hate like dentists, so I'd rather go to a foot doctor than a dentist.
Absolutely. How often do you wear like open toe shoes, sandals, flip flops?
Well, out here actually a pretty decent amount. I would say maybe like not a big flip flop gal, but like sandals, maybe
Crocs, maybe something like that.
Yeah, maybe like on the weekends, I would say.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. How often do you go barefoot? No shoes.
Like outside.
Well, in general, like maybe at home, like
at home basically, or just like if I'm sitting
on the park, the beach, like got
not
it.
like just
Yeah. Have you ever heard of like grounding, earthing?
Sounds familiar, like when you like stick your toes into the
Yeah, it's like just basically being barefoot and like getting that energy back from the earth, that runs through your body.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
It's actually like a part of reflexology, so it's things that people do to kind of make themselves feel grounded and at one with earth.
Yeah.
You ever tried it or?
No, not really. I mean, I've like done it
Non-officially.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, unofficially.
Okay, because I've heard people say that. I heard one lady that I was talking to, and she kind of compared it to like when you're born, right? You're not born with shoes or socks. Right, and then even as a kid, like some of your funnest times are kind of like running around without shoes and things like that. So she's like, you kind of feel free, and so she's like, it's like that same type of like freedom that you feel, just kind of maybe doing it 30 minutes a day, just kind of like letting your feet like breathe and just relax. Yeah, so it's like a meditation practice. So yeah, absolutely.
Nice. Okay.
Good. So now, can we see what your feet look like up close? Is that cool?
Sure.
All right. And so you said it's a size 9 we're dealing with, right? And can you put them both out? And let's see the tops first. All right. So size 9 we're dealing with. All right. You have a great toe alignment. Look nice. And what color is this we're dealing with?
I don't really know.
It looks like a brown type.
Red.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've never seen it before. Yeah. All right, and then let's see the soles. Like just kind of like put them up like this. Yeah, there you go. All right. And so how are you feeling? We're going through this. Yeah. We're doing through the interview. We're asking questions. We're like, look at you. Can you leave your feet? We're going to go through a couple more exercises. But how are you feeling? Like about the...
It's interesting.
Interesting? Yeah. Are you feeling uncomfortable? Are you comfortable? Like...
Yeah. No, I think it's comfortable.
Okay.
It's just like different. I've never been in
Absolutely.
Before,
so, and let me throw in the mental health.
Yeah.
Why I got started with this. So, throughout quarantine, I was watching a guy's channel, and during the channel, he was like approaching women. He was talking to them about DBT. Are you familiar with that term?
Oh yeah. The
Dialectical behavioral therapy.
Yes.
Right. So it's for people who like kind of like suffer from anxiety and depression, and they kind of deal with like being able to live in the moment. Mm-hmm. So they kind of overthink situations that like they're presented with. Right.
Yeah.
Therapists prescribe for people who like kind of deal with that. They have challenges with that to like go out and like approach situations that you feel uncomfortable with. So you had a fear of approaching strangers. Going up and approaching strangers, doing it over and over again, right? So that you can get, exposure therapy, getting yourself used to being uncomfortable with it, right? And when you're uncomfortable and you're in that moment, you stop and you cope with it. You do a self-assessment, ask yourself, what's the worst that's going to happen to me? Like what am I dealing with? Is there anything that's going to threaten my life or safety? And if it's not, do the opposite of what the negative emotions are telling you and proceed. So like when I go out and I do this, I'm kind of like doing that. If you see like the steps I'm going through questions and then we get to this, try to see what that is. So what are your thoughts about DBT and like kind of like living in the moment, kind of overcoming your fears? What are your thoughts about that?
I think it's important. Mm-hmm. It's definitely probably an important practice.
Yeah. Do you kind of live like that, or do you kind of are you somebody who like overthinks situations, or what?
Oh yeah, I definitely overthink situations for sure.
Okay.
I mean, I definitely try to. Like,
you try to,
Like,
it's hard. It's hard.
Yeah.
And I think I always tell the women who I'm interviewing, like my brother. He was always like this type of person that could just like, he had like, his memory was like very short term. Mm-hmm. He couldn't like, he would just like overcome stuff really easily. Like, for example, like approaching a woman, like to talk to her. He could go approach a woman and like get shot down and literally approach the woman right next to her and do the same. And like, he had no thoughts about it. Like, I'm the opposite.
Right.
To where I approach the woman, I get shot down and I'm like, oh, okay, I'm good. I got to think about this. Like what happened? What is the reasoning? And so to be able to see him doing that and like, I'm like, man, how did he, live like that? But there are people who just live like that and it's interesting. So yeah, you're probably more like on my level where it's like we overthink.
No, I definitely would not be your brother in law.
Absolutely. So let's talk about reflexology now. So reflexology deals with the different pressure points we have in our hands and in our feet. And like, so we have all these pressure points and nerve endings, and they actually correlate to other parts of our body. So through massage, acupuncture, acupressure, you can actually like alleviate a lot of that tension we feel in our body. So there's like spots for like if you have a migraine to like massage that area, applying pressure, you can like alleviate the tension from that.
Right. Yes.
What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, no, I've definitely heard of it.
Okay.
I think it seems really interesting, and I definitely believe in that.
Would you ever go out and try that?
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. And always when I go out and I'm giving this information, I'm always telling the women who I'm talking to, like, it's like an alternate means to like taking like different medications that are over the counter. Like sometimes we have pains and we're just like, oh, let me get a pill or whatever. So to be able to like find a way to like deal with it in a more holistic approach and things like that. So that's something that you can see yourself doing.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely. Okay. So now that we talked about that, hi, how are you doing? So now that you talked about that, how ticklish do you tend to be?
Pretty ticklish. Yeah.
Pretty ticklish? Yeah. Would you mind if we tested it out? Is that something?
With what?
On your feet.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah? Okay.
Sorry.
All right, let's did you say yes or no?
No, yeah, I would
Okay, you don't want to do it. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. So can I get you to do a couple of exercises with your feet? This is a test if you have any like broken bones, muscle damage, anything like that. First, let me get you extend your feet back out like how you had them.
Okay.
All right, and then put your toes up.
Yeah.
All right, and then what I want you to do is bend your toes over and make a fist.
Like this?
Yeah. It is like in there. All right. Now, is that hard to do? Is it easy to do?
Pretty easy. Yeah.
Okay. Relax. Okay. And what I want you to do now is spread your toes. Tell me if you feel any pain or discomfort from that.
No.
Easy to do?
Yeah, pretty easy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Relax. All right. And then let me get you to just wiggle your toes and tell me about 10 seconds. Tell me if you feel any pain, discomfort from it. Pretty easy?
Yeah, pretty easy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. So now,
Yeah.
let's wrap up the interview.
Yeah.
I'd like to get your thoughts on my approach coming up to you, asking you to do the interview. Was it good? Was it bad? What were your thoughts about it?
Yeah, it was very nice. It was like very, you know.
Thank you.
Yeah, I didn't think you were gonna interview me.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I get that from a lot of women. A lot of women like, I thought that you were gonna like want to talk to me or something like that, but like it's okay. Like it's good.
No, it's fine. It's
Appreciate that. Okay. And
questions were
thanks.
there, yeah.
In terms of the questions I asked from like beginning to end, the way the interview was going. Did you see how it was going? Did it make sense to you? Did you learn anything new from the information?
Definitely learned more about like the importance of maybe looking at your feet and your toes and like how, you know, it is a part of your body like everything else, but a lot of people don't really pay attention to
it's
it.
the foundation of our bodies, and sometimes we can neglect it and not pay attention to it.
Yeah.
So like it's definitely important to just make sure that you're and what I hear from a lot of podiatrists is that a lot of people like wait till later on in life till when they have problems, and then they start to go, and then it's like, well, it's not much I can do for you because. So it's like it's good to kind of go, kind of go and just check it because like our bodies are like, I would equate it to like kind of like a car, right?
Right.
Like the different things that happen, you get your brakes changed, your tires changed. You need to do the same thing with your body. So
yeah, that makes sense.
absolutely. So the last thing that I'll ask from you, from a mental health standpoint, right? Maybe a life lesson that you've learned, some wise words somebody once said to you. You can say to my channel that could be helpful.
Oh, I'm terrible on the spot, but
No.
I think just like really sitting with things,
Okay.
and like self-soothing is important, and just really trying to get to the fundamentals of what you're feeling and why, really, and you know if it's worth how you're expressing it, you know, if it's worth that. But I also think just therapy is good.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think a lot of people are really like afraid of therapy, especially like, you know, people of color. It's
absolutely.
like, you know, it's kind of a taboo subject, but I feel like therapy is literally needed for everyone because we live in a very crazy world that feels like it's only getting crazier.
Yeah, best to just have somebody who your support system are in place,
not
right?
Friends, not family, because sometimes you can't tell people everything.
No.
But a stranger who literally but legally can't tell anybody is a good person maybe to talk to about things, and they can give you tools that maybe you couldn't give yourself or you know somebody else can.
Exactly.
I think it's good to have, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, of course.
Definitely appreciate you stopping, like what you're doing, you and Mia. Do the interview. We thank you so much, and you have a great one, okay?
No problem. You too.
All right. Hi, good morning. How you doing today?
Hi, good. How are you?
Doing great. And so, how did our paths cross today? How did you and I just meet?
I was jogging and listening to a podcast, and you were like, "Hey, do you have 10 minutes?"
Absolutely. Yeah, and this is crazy because I parked down this way, near like where the park is like overlooking like the beach. Yeah. And like I walked all the way down to the pike, and then walked all the way back. So I kind of use these opportunities as a way to like kind of like, kind of clear my mind too. And then I'm also like approaching like and trying to see if I can get interviews, but try to use it for double reasons.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I also parked all the way down there, but it's much farther, so I'm trying to make it to the pike.
Yeah, I feel it. It's actually great down there right now too.
Yeah.
So, what did I approach you about? What are we doing today?
You asked me to answer some questions for your YouTube channel. You said it was gonna be based on reflexology and feet and something else. Mindfulness? I can't remember.
Yeah, you're close. Mental health.
Mental health.
Absolutely. And so, in terms of mental health, right? Are there any topics that you kind of like follow closely that you're interested in that you pay attention to?
Well, I do have some friends and roommates that have like severe anxiety, so I try to follow anxiety and see the kind of breathing techniques and yoga and sounds that you can listen to help quell the anxiety when it rises up too high to control. But
yeah, there's so many different, like, to me, like in terms of like mental health, because everybody deals with it on a different level, and so there's so many different things that you can use to like kind of like, you know, try to put yourself in a better position. Because I don't think like there's like a cure all for
Yeah,
everything,
right. Mm-hmm.
but there's definitely ways that you can kind of minimalize, like, you know, what you're going through. So what we're gonna be talking about today is like a topic that I learned about that had to deal with like dealing with like depression and anxiety. So like kind of a way to kind of interact and like deal with that. So I'd like to get your feedback once we get there about how you feel about it. Okay.
Okay, cool.
What about reflexology? You ever heard of it before?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like pressure points in the feet and hands.
There you go. Wonderful. Like, it's very few people I get that are like, they know what it
really?
is. Exactly. Yeah.
I don't know how to do it, but
yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
But we'll go a little bit more in depth about that, and I'd like to get your feedback on how you feel about that. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So let's get to the first question. Okay. What's something you like that other people might find to be weird? And I'm using the term weird. For a reason, like maybe it's a way you like you eat your food, or maybe a certain hobby you might have, or something like that.
Yeah, definitely. The way I eat my food is weird. It used to, I guess, when I was a kid, I would like to pick apart things. So like McDonald's chicken nuggets, right? They have the skin. I like took off all the skin and then I ate the inside of a few, and then I would eat the skin. I don't really do that anymore, but I still eat with my hands a lot, which you know, a lot of people are like, "Why are you eating that with your hands?"
But in some cultures, like that's like the way
that's
they
all.
do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
You gather it and you put it in.
It's nothing wrong with that. I feel like whatever is like comfortable for you, and if it makes you feel good, like you should definitely do it. So, has anyone ever made you feel insecure about your body or a body part before?
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure.
Now, are those things that you're still dealing with, or do you kind of like more have a control over it now, where it doesn't bother you as much?
It depends. It depends. You know, as I'm older now than I was before, I do feel more comfortable, and it helps, you know, that I have a husband who, you know, tells me great things about myself all the time. But it does kind of make me feel insecure sometimes when I put something on and I'm like, I look fabulous, and then someone's like, oh, I don't think that goes together, and it's like, fuck.
Yeah. You know, but and I think, like you said, like we're more concerned about like the outside noise, and we like listen to like what other people feel. But for me, at least, I can say that like I've gotten to the point where it's like more about like, how do I feel about this, right? Because if you feel fine with it, right, screw what everybody else thinks or whatever like that. Like we all have our own like battles to fight and things like that. So. But that's great. So what are some like, because you said like sometimes you deal with that. What are some coping mechanisms that you like use to like kind of get over that, so it doesn't keep you down so far? Maybe
if I am really feeling what I put on, and I like before I go out and show anyone else, I'm like, okay, doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. You look great. You like the way you look. Someone's gonna like your style. It's fine. It's fine.
And that's why we, the girls show with so many different people, different personalities and tastes. So, like you said, somebody's gonna be like, "Hey, that's pretty cool. I like it."
I mean, we're from Ohio, so like, you know, who knows what people like in Ohio? It's definitely not what people like in California, and trends are always changing.
It's always different. Yeah, absolutely. As anyone, I'm sorry. No, if there's one thing you could change about yourself, and it doesn't have to be physical, what would you change?
I bite my nails a lot, and
so you would want to be better at.
Yeah, I've tried to stop over and over and over and over and over.
Is that something maybe that you do like because you're like anxious or things like that?
Anxious, driving, bored, mindless, so all the time, all the time, except for when I'm sleeping. I think.
Oh yeah, well, of course.
Yeah. So yeah, just a terrible habit.
Absolutely, that's all good. And so let's get into these questions now. How do you feel about your feet? What are your thoughts?
I like them. I mean, they're fine, but they could definitely be better.
Okay.
Some of my nails are a little jacked up, and then I think they're kind of flat, so they give me some trouble if I don't have the right shoes.
Got it.
But yeah.
Do you live more of a like active lifestyle?
Not as active as some, but definitely more active than most.
Absolutely. Has anyone ever complimented you before? You feel like they
on my feet?
Yeah, they told you had nice feet before.
I don't think so.
Never?
No.
Okay. All right. How would you feel if you did receive a compliment about that? Like, would it be well appreciated, or would you kind of be like more like, where's this coming from?
I mean, are you saying just like a stranger on the street?
In general, just like somebody like, you're crossing paths with somebody, they're like, hey, you're wearing sandals, and like, hey, you have nice feet. Like, what would your thoughts be?
I don't know. I guess it probably depends on how they said it.
Okay.
But I try to take things as a compliment, so I just I'm like, okay, like I wonder what I'm doing, my sparkly nail polish or something.
And I think it's like you said, because I think a lot of women that I've talked to about this, they say it's all about context, right? Depending on how it's said, like things like that like matter more than that compliment itself, right?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. You're married, so I'm going to skip some of the questions I would normally ask.
Okay.
But, how often do you get pedicures?
Oh, I like getting pedicures, but I probably haven't had one in, COVID, but I probably maybe like once every year and a half, I'd say.
Okay. So do you do your like own self-care in terms of that, or?
Yeah, I do myself, and my roommate is a cosmetologist, but she's constantly doing her nails.
Yeah.
But obviously I don't have fingernails, so I do little bits here and there, but pedicures are bomb.
Have you ever heard of a medical pedicure before?
Oh, actually, my mom's a diabetic, and so I think she gets them.
Absolutely,
because they have to clip the nails in a certain way.
Yeah, that's, and this is something I hear, right? So, podiatrists a lot of times tell us that a lot of people wait till later in life to where they have those type of problems to go to them. Where you should probably go see somebody like that like every 3 months or so, just to like keep the maintenance up, because it's kind of like a car, right? You got to keep your tires, well, your brakes, things like that. So the body is the same way. And so like a lot of people with their feet, they tend to like neglect it.
Yeah.
And they have like other problems later in life. So how would you feel like about maybe going to see somebody like that, as opposed to like maybe going to get like a cosmetic type pedicure?
I mean, that's a very good point. We're on our feet. We're on our feet, 50% of our lives.
I'm trying to tell you, like, it's literally like the foundation for you. Like when you stand up and walk and all these different things that you do. So, very important.
What do they always say? You need to get great shoes and great mattresses because you spend half your life on either or.
There you go.
No, I would definitely do that. I would definitely do that.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
How often do you wear like open toe shoes, sandals, flip flops? I know you're from Ohio, so maybe not as much because the weather is like.
Yeah, but I've been out here for 3 years. I actually wear flip flops a lot. And I love open toed like dress shoes. I just have to remember to paint my nails before I wear them usually.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But I wear flip flops probably every day.
Even in Ohio, so.
Oh no, I live out here now. Now for the last few years. Yeah.
So you got to be loving it.
Yeah, it's great.
70-degree weather, like pretty much all the time.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Or 100 degrees, but it's not humid. I don't know if you've ever had humidity, but it's.
Oh yeah, I've had it. Yeah.
You have? Yeah,
I've gone up to Sacramento, where my girlfriend's from. She's from Placerville. Yeah. And I remember it being so hot up there one day, and like humid, just like. Yeah. I'm like, nah, I can't do it.
Yeah, there's like thick and
it's bad.
You're lucky your hair's short because it gets.
I'm already, how often do you go barefoot? Like no shoes?
So actually in Ohio, I would go barefoot a lot. Like so much that the bottom of your feet are just dirty and well, I don't know.
Is
my
that
friends
a comfort thing for you?
I just don't care enough. Okay. Like I can just I don't have to put on shoes to walk across the street. I don't have to put on shoes to get my trash bin. Yeah. I mean, out here it's like, okay, do people think it's weird, or do they even notice?
It's actually interesting because like my girlfriend, like I said, she's from California and she likes to go barefoot like literally all the time. Like I'm pretty sure if like she could go out and like she knew that like floors were clean and things like that.
True.
Like she could just walk around and like she would do that for sure. Yeah. Absolutely.
I would too. Yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever heard of grounding, earthing?
No, that one I haven't heard of.
I'm pretty sure you're probably doing it and you don't know it. So just it's for people who feel like when their like feet are touching the ground, like sand, grass, things like that, they get energy back from the earth, like that like runs through their own body. It's supposed to like make you feel the like most at one like with earth. So like a lot of people who like tend to do yoga, do that type of stuff, or people from like Eastern like Asia and Africa, things like that, they tend to do that. What are your thoughts on maybe doing that? Like
I definitely know what you're talking about. Yeah. I do yoga and it's all about like sinking into the ground and pulling yourself up, but I don't necessarily think about it in my day-to-day life outside of the practice.
Absolutely.
So I would do that.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I feel like somebody told me once, like when I was doing the interview, she said, think about like when you're born, right? You come into the world with like no shoes, no socks, and even some of your times as a kid are like the most joy you have. Like it's like just running around, no shoes on, and just like having fun. So supposedly like doing that as an adult makes you feel like that same type of like energy that you had during those times. So I was like, that was actually a great point that she said, and I was like, interesting. Yeah. So what do you think about that? You think that's true, or? If smells can bring you back to your childhood, why not, running around with your feet slapping on the ground? There you go.
Sounds great.
Absolutely. So now, can we see what your feet look like up close? Would that be something we can do today?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I should have known.
Yeah. Is that fun?
I mean, I didn't paint my nails or anything.
That's fine. It's not about
1 foot or 2 feet?
If we can get 2, that would be great. If not, if you're more comfortable with just doing 1, I'm okay with that too. But I usually like to get the contrast between the 2.
Sure, why not?
Right, cool.
It's for the greater good, isn't it?
Appreciate it. All right.
It's for a soulful discussion. Right?
Soulful discussions. That's exactly what it's for. All right. And what size do you wear, first of all?
I don't know. These are like maybe an 8.
8? Okay.
Yeah.
So,
but
you
it's
vary
somewhere
in
between
size?
8.5 to 9. Sure.
Oh, okay. All right. Let me get you to extend out. Hold on. Will you stop? Okay. Just extend your feet out like this. All right.
Are my socks clean?
Yeah. Absolutely. It looks fresh. Looks like you just pulled them out. All right. And now you can take your socks off.
Okay. Are we doing the bottom?
Yeah. I'm gonna have you place them down flat first so we can see the tops. All right. They look nice. Absolutely.
Thank you.
And yeah, like you said, you're probably due for a pedicure or whatever like that, but they still look very nice. Absolutely. Now let me get you to stand out, soles up. All right. And so how you feeling right now? We're going through this like interview process. We're like kind of looking at your feet. How do you feel?
I'm just letting it ride. It's all good.
Yeah, absolutely. You'll be surprised at how many people I meet and they're like, I guess like they have a hard time getting over that. But like some people just tend to be like, oh, just go with the flow and just like see how it goes. Yeah.
Oh yeah. At first I was anxious, but now it's like, well, all right, we'll see what.
Absolutely.
We'll watch the video later and see how it goes.
Exactly.
Maybe some editing and some nice collage of music, a swipe,
So let's talk about the mental health, right? So in terms of, and leave your feet up and go through a couple more exercises.
Can you see them in the frame?
No, but I can put it like this. I can put it like this, and then we can get you both in the frame. There you go. There it is. All right. So, like I said, in terms of mental health, so the topic that I learned about, I don't know if you ever heard of it, DBT before?
No.
All right, so it's Dialectical Behavioral Therapy. So it's for people who suffer from like anxiety, depression. They tend to like not live in the moment, right? So exactly like what we're talking about right now, right? So when they're like approached with like a situation that's uncomfortable, they tend to like think about all the negative things that can happen, right? So like, oh, this could happen, that could happen, right? A lot of times these things are not things that would actually happen, but they think about it, right? So a therapist prescribed for people like this is like to go out, put yourself in those situations that make you uncomfortable, right? So for example, let's say you had a fear of approaching strangers, right? Go out and approach strangers. Do it over and over again, right? Exposure therapy, get yourself used to that. And when you're in the moment and you start to feel uncomfortable, do a self-assessment and ask yourself, like, what's the worst that's going to happen to me, right? There's not anything that's going to threaten my life or my safety. Do the opposite of what the negative emotions are telling you. What are your thoughts about, like, trying to overcome, like, the different things we may deal with in terms of, like, obstacles that we, like, come upon in life? Like, what are your thoughts about that? Using that tactic, at least.
Well, you mean, do I think that it would work, or?
Yeah. Do you think that it's an effective approach in terms of overcoming like your fears and things like that, trying to like I said, use that as a way to get past things?
Yeah. I mean, I would say probably you'd be able to do that with most things. I actually just met a girl who has like a shaking fear of guns. So anytime she sees a gun, she's okay with paintball apparently, and like laser tag. She's fine with that. But if she knows it's a real gun, she freezes.
Did she ever have an experience like where she
in her childhood? So
and there you go, and that's usually what it is. Like we have past trauma, and a lot of times we have to get past that trauma first before we can like do any other type of work. So. That's actually interesting.
I told her maybe she should, go to a shooting range. But like maybe a solo one, not with like 10 other people.
Yeah, because maybe the sounds of stuff might, trigger something. Yeah. So
or seeing a lot of people carrying them. Or
absolutely.
I think that you're totally right that you have to overcome your fears by going out there and giving it a go and seeing like if you have a fear of rejection, it's not so bad after you're rejected 20 times. You're like, I'm not as brokenhearted and
and it's funny that you brought that up. So like I started doing this, right? So for
you got your heart broken a bunch when people said no?
Well, no, a couple times. But so here's the thing. So for me, like in the past, with just different things, like maybe going up and approaching a woman, like to talk to her, or whatever like that, it's hard for me. And a lot of times when I would like approach and I get shut down, then I'd be like, okay, I'm done. Like I'm completely done. Like I can't do anything for a while, and like it's like that. But now, going out and doing this, and like I can get shut down like a ton. Like people just say no, whatever like that. But my mindset had to change because I was like, if I'm trying to do this and if I'm going to do it effectively, then I need to be able to like go out and anticipate like there's going to be a yes, right? But just keep doing it until you get that yes. So, like I said, even right now, like me, I walked all the way from here, all the way down, came all the way back. So it's probably been about an hour and a half, right? And I've been approaching.
You have?
Like, yeah, and like you were the first yes, but it's like if I would have stopped at some point, like, it's not gonna happen. It is what it is, and wallowing in that, that negative feeling, you'll never see the positive side to it. So,
Aww,
absolutely,
I like that,
yeah, absolutely. So let's get to the reflexology. Now, you talked a little bit about it earlier. You said that it has to do with the different pressure points we have in our hands and feet, right? Absolutely correct. So those pressure points connect to like various parts of our body, right? Through massage, acupuncture, acupressure, you can actually alleviate like stress and tension like throughout different parts of your body. So for people who deal with migraines, there's like a portion of your foot to massage that can like alleviate the tension that you feel in those moments of migraines. For people who like might have a strained shoulder, you can apply pressure to another point and like literally like get rid of that tension that you're feeling. What are your thoughts about reflexology and like kind of what it does from you from a more holistic standpoint?
I've never really used it myself.
Yeah.
We've all given massages and taken massages. And
Absolutely.
It feels great. The hands feel great. But I've never used it to, like you said, relieve a migraine
Absolutely.
or to stop nausea or, all sorts of other things.
Do you get migraines or?
No.
Okay. You're
no,
lucky.
But
there's some people who go through this where I interview them and they say they get migraines quite often. So you're one of the lucky few.
Yeah.
There it is. So now with that being said, how ticklish do you tend to be?
I'm pretty ticklish, especially on my feet.
Really?
For sure.
You mind if we test it? Is that okay?
No.
Nope. It's all good. It's all good.
I'll send you a video later.
No, it's all good. Can I get you to do a couple exercises like with your feet, just to test like to test the flexibility and things like that? Let me get you to extend out. Okay. And what I want you to do first is bend your toes over and make a fist. Tell me if you feel any pain, discomfort from that. Easy to do?
Yeah.
Okay. Relax. Okay. Spread your toes. Tell me if you feel any pain or discomfort from that.
No.
Okay. Relax. Just wiggle your toes for about 10 seconds. Tell me if you feel any pain or discomfort. All right. Easy?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I do have a trick for you. I'm going to tell you a little trick. So when you go get your pedicures, are you usually very ticklish?
No.
Oh, really?
It's only if people are trying to.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. If you do, you ever feel like that you're very ticklish doing it? Wiggle your toes a bit.
Okay.
Right? Because what happens is like because your foot's in motion, your different muscles are moving, it can't pick up on that sensation. So
if someone's trying to tickle me, will that work too?
Wiggle your toes. Absolutely.
Okay, good.
Absolutely. Also, like cutting off like blood flow to that area. So like sometimes like crossing your legs, things like that, like can also like alleviate that too. So,
okay. Absolutely. That's awesome. Thank you.
All right. So let's get to the end of the interview now. I like to wrap up, and you can put your shoes, socks on.
Okay. Great.
In terms of my approach, like coming up to you and asking you to do the interview, did you think it was good? Was it bad? What were your thoughts about my approach?
So it's good that you had the microphone because if you had pamphlets or something, I definitely would have been like, no, I'm good, thanks. Yeah, because you never know. I mean, people were trying to hand you things or sell you things or, that's what I learned out here in California.
Absolutely, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, so keep the microphone visible.
Oh,
it's great.
I always do,
And,
Okay.
I think it was good.
What was your thoughts on the interview from start to finish? Could you see how everything was like going in a line? Did it make sense to you, and did you learn anything new from the information?
It makes sense to me. I should have expected you to ask me to take my shoes off. I was wondering. I was like, okay, are we just going to talk about it? And then,
so the reason why I do that too, so let me explain to you, right? So a lot of times, like some women have insecurities.
Yeah,
on their feet,
I definitely have insecurities too.
Absolutely. So kind of having you do like some impromptu like modeling to see if you can get past like that insecurities, those insecurities you feel, if you can just go with the flow. So like how we talk about the mental health, the DBT portion, like can you just live in the moment and like not think about like somebody's gonna see this and like think that I have like ugly feet or whatever like that, right?
Yeah.
So
don't worry, I was thinking about that still.
Were you?
Yeah.
How'd you get past it? How were you like, coping with it?
I wanted to. Well, I saw that your YouTube channel was legit and it wasn't some nothing. And then so I think that's good if you have people look at your YouTube channel before.
Yeah,
otherwise.
I always offer it. I'm like, hey, if you want to look at my YouTube channel, just check my content out and see what.
Yeah, sure. That's great. But I got past it just by being like, if I'm gonna show my friends,
Yeah.
and if they're like, come on, Rebecca, you could have just taken off your shoes. It doesn't matter. It's not the big deal, and whatever. We'll just see how much you zoom in, and
Exactly. Absolutely.
I was thinking though that, and I don't know if on your channel you do like a reveal, like, okay, as you take off your shoes, but if you if they're uncomfortable, you could always say, if you want to take them off camera first and let them, breathe for a minute, and then I can
That's
record
actually
you.
a good idea. I never thought about that.
Yeah, because the camera is seeing them just as soon as I see them, so I know what they look like, but maybe there's extra sand on them, or maybe they're wrinkly from my socks.
That is a good point. And so what I do a lot too, because I get some people, right, they tend to tell me like, hey man, you missed, we didn't get a chance to see like the shoes coming off or whatever like that. And I'm like, hey man, I like to try to give the women like an opportunity to kind of like you just said, like be comfortable with the moment. And some women like start doing it before I even like know that they're saying yes, so like it's kind of hard for me to like know when. So but I'm definitely gonna think about putting that in there.
Yeah, I mean, you could always offer it as an option, and then if they don't feel comfortable and they're not going to take off their shoes, you can offer it as an option.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So the last thing that I have everybody do that does the interview with me, from a mental health standpoint, a life lesson that maybe you've learned, some wise words somebody once imparted to you that you can share with my channel that could be helpful. And it can be anything.
In every relationship, friendship, any relationship that you have, communication is always important. And I'm sure that you've heard this 100 times, but just honest communication. That doesn't mean you have to say every little thing that comes into your head, but be honest when you need to be. Why tiptoe around things? Just try to be honest.
I like that.
And try to be receptive as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I like that. Thank you so much.
You're
Appreciate
welcome.
you stopping to do the interview with us, and we hope that you have a great one, okay? All right. So, hi, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing great, doing great. So, how did our paths cross today? How did you and I just meet right now?
We just met because I was going to a Pilates class, and you asked me if I could be interviewed for a quick 10 minutes on mental health and reflexology, right?
Yeah, exactly. In terms of like the mental health portion, any topics you kind of research, you follow closely, you more investigate?
Yeah, I'm actually getting my master's degree in social work, specifically in mental health and wellness at USC right now. And yeah, I think just watching the pandemic and seeing what came out of that and how important your brain is and stability of your mental health really put a different perspective on everyone, because that's like, we're used to working out muscles and like our body, but we forget about our brain and how things function after grief, losses, illnesses. So yeah, so that's kind of
Are you familiar with DBT by any chance?
I'm not.
Okay, cool. I'll talk a little bit about that, but that's kind of like the way that I learned about like dealing with anxiety in situations that sometimes I may overthink. So I'll get your like input about like what you think about that. What about reflexology? Familiar with it?
Yes, my mom's obsessed with it.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah,
nice,
so I
nice.
would go with her a few times.
Dope. Okay, so I'd like to get your feedback about how you feel about it once you get there as well. Okay?
Yeah.
Cool. Let's get into the questions now. So, in terms of like how the world's become more aware of like mental health, what are your thoughts about that? How do you feel about that?
I think because of Instagram and Facebook and all of technology, it's expanding greatly, and also like yoga and fitness now is showing how that works with mental health.
Yep.
So I think people are definitely more knowledgeable of it. I think the problem is that with Instagram and stuff, it's kind of like telling us how to react or how to live constantly, and unsolicited advice as well, which isn't always good for our mental health. So it's a fine line there. It's good that there's exposure, but like you also have to learn yourself and maybe seek professional care rather than looking at
absolutely.
like an Instagram or Facebook for guidance.
So true. So if there was one thing you could change about social media, what would it be?
It would be that people don't have enough connections anymore, and I think that was the objective of it, was to connect people.
Yeah.
But I think now everyone's just on their phone in an elevator, and we lost human connection. So I think it would be cool if like we start using our platform like you are to connect with people and sit down and talk for 10 minutes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the algorithm kind of is like, it makes you like look at certain things, right? Like when you go to search, you get like all these images of like certain things that you are familiar with on like other websites and stuff. So it's really crazy.
Yeah.
So let's get into these questions now. What are your thoughts about your own feet? How do you feel about your feet?
My feet?
Yeah.
I feel
You like them? You
good
don't like
about
them?
my feet.
You
Yeah,
like
I've
them?
never been. Yeah, maybe just indifferent. I've
Okay.
never. Yeah. So yeah.
Okay. Have you ever received any compliments before about your feet?
No.
No. Okay. If you did receive a compliment about that, how would it make you feel?
Honestly, I think kind of like strange.
Really?
Because it's just the part that like I don't know, and everyone has like fetish, so I'd be like, oh, why?
So I would challenge you with this, right?
Yeah.
Because when I often hear that, I want to challenge back, right? So if anybody's giving you a compliment on like your hair, your eyes, your hands, it's like different.
Totally okay. Totally different.
So that's different, really, because they're still like looking at something and they're pointing out like if this looks good or whatever.
Yeah.
But like feet in general would be something that would be weird to you because it's.
Yeah, I guess
like,
just because of like that whole stigma, like
Yeah,
foot
yeah.
fetish. So I
Because
think
like
I
for
would
example,
like
right now, like
think
you wear
that
sandals,
way.
right? So if somebody walked up and said, "Hey, you have nice toes," or whatever, like that would be weird for you to hear.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know why. I mean, it's definitely a stigma, but
It's just I mean, it's a stigma, and that's why I said that's kind of I like the fact that you're being very honest. I just challenge back with it, but that's kind of why I started my channel, to kind of like normalize the conversation around it, because I feel like a lot of times, like if you hear about a guy who's like into like breasts or into like butts or whatever it may be, that's not seen as weird. But if a guy's like he likes feet, it's like oh wow, like that's pretty weird.
Yeah.
So I think that like there's some definitely things that can change about that. So that's kind of what I'm doing. Yeah, cool. How often do you like go get pedicures, things like that?
Pretty much all the time. Because like whenever my nail polish is chipping, I'll like take care of it and go get pedicures.
So do you do your own self-care?
Sometimes, but usually I go get a pedicure.
So depending on maybe like how much time you have and things like that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. What type of colors do you like to get? Like are there any specific colors that you stick with?
On my feet, definitely like a darker shade.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Have you ever heard of a medical pedicure before? Okay, so medical pedicure is when you go see a podiatrist, a specialist in the foot. They'll basically take a look at your feet, they look at your nails, and make sure they work right. They look at your toe alignment, make sure your toes are aligned correctly. They take away any dead fungus, any dead skin, do all the work there. What are your thoughts about seeing somebody like that?
Yeah, I would definitely go.
Yeah, so there's a lot of things that was something that I ended up learning about, like, I think it was like maybe like the fourth woman that I interviewed, like she mentioned that to me, like about medical pedicures. I had never heard of it before, so definitely something interesting.
I know. Any alignment, I'm like for. So if they're aligning my toes, I think it's all like connected. So
Absolutely.
Definitely in
Absolutely. How often do you wear like open toe shoes, sandals, flip flops, things like that?
All the time in the summer and warm weather. So yeah, when it's chilly or like below 65. Not a lot. Only in my house.
Got it. You familiar with earthing and grounding?
Yes.
All right. Do you practice it ever, or?
I did when I was living at home and had like a backyard, but now I'm in the city and there's not really
you don't have any space to do that.
for it, or a dog park. I don't want to do it, so it's more like if I go on my way to find it, yes, I'll do it. Or if I'm in like a more rural area, for sure. But,
Sounds good. Could you put them up here? So
they're not like great right now.
It's okay. Can you put them both here?
Oh yeah.
And what size do you wear? I see you got like a green, color right now.
7.5.
7.5.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Does it vary depending on the type of shoe that you wear, like a sandal or a heel? Or?
No, usually 7.5 is it.
Okay. Cool. How are you feeling so far now? We're
good.
approaching 7 minutes.
Yeah.
Cool. Good.
Awesome.
All right. Cool. Let's get a little bit more into like mental health. So I want to, like I told you, I learned about DBT.
Okay.
It's dialectical behavioral therapy. So it's for people who suffer from like anxiety and depression. People who tend to like not live in the moment, like they tend to like overthink the situation they're presented with.
Okay.
So therapists usually prescribe for them to like go out and put themselves in those situations that make them feel uncomfortable, exposure therapy, right?
Okay.
And when you're in the moment and you're feeling that like anxiety, you're supposed to do a self-assessment, ask yourself, what's the worst that's gonna happen to you in this moment, right? And if there's not anything you can find that's like a threat to your life or your safety, you're supposed to do the opposite of what the negative emotions are telling you, because you may be preventing yourself from like a positive moment, things like that.
Right.
What are your thoughts on like utilizing that as a way? I mean, there are other tools you can use as well, but what are your thoughts about this specific tool?
I think it's very interesting, and I think it's a great tool if it works for some people, and I hope more people can use that.
Yeah.
I think depending depending on your level of anxiety, depression, it's not for everyone because you can go into panic attack or have a medical condition. So yeah, it would just be more of an individual and client-based practice.
Got it. All right, cool. Let's talk about reflexology. So those are the different pressure points we actually have in our hands and in our feet, and those pressure points like correlate to like different parts of our body.
Yeah.
So like through massage, acupuncture, acupressure, you can alleviate like stress and tension through like various parts of your body. You said your mom's like extremely into that.
Oh yeah.
What are your thoughts about it?
I believe it works. Like I haven't really done enough research or study into it, but I definitely know when I'm it definitely helps, and you can feel it throughout your body. So I do believe that, like, again, it's rooted and connected. Like definitely pressure points in the foot help with your shoulders or headaches, migraines. Yeah.
Got it. All right, so let's wrap up the interview now. Approaching 10 minutes. In terms of my approach coming up to you asking the interview, was it good? Was it bad? What were your thoughts about my approach?
I thought it was good. I mean, I'm doing something similar on Instagram right now with moments, and it's like connecting people through like experiences and asking their day to day. So I'm all about a moment and connection on social media. So
cool.
Yeah, it was fine. Yeah.
Nice. In terms of the interview as a whole, like I didn't get a chance to ask you all the questions, but in terms of what I did ask, did you see how everything was going in the line? Did it make sense to you? Did you learn anything new?
Yeah, definitely. And I learned about DBT.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's new. So
medical pedicures?
Yes, medical pedicures, which I'm definitely going to look into.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
Cool. Last thing I'll ask from a mental health standpoint, maybe a life lesson you learned, some wise words somebody once imparted to you. You can say to my channel that could be helpful.
Yeah. Sorry, I have to process. There's been so many lessons throughout the 2 years.
Yeah.
I think it would be sorry, I'm trying to think. Honestly, be thankful for the moments, like the brief periods of time, instead of the overall picture, because I think we get lost of looking for something when we lose track of how special every little second is. Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Definitely appreciate you stopping to do the interview, and we hope that you have a great one. Okay?
Of course, you as well.
All right.